Is this thing on? Oh, yeah, perfect. Well, I guess while I got you here, I'm going to talk today about the Sun Eater series by Christopher Ruocchio, and why I think you should read it if you have not just yet already. And I'm also going to try to be like Mike from Mike's Book Reviews and just do one long cut of this video where I don't mess up a single time. So let's see how I do on that, because in some of my previous videos, you don't even want to know the amount of times I had to restart just saying hi. So let's see how far we get into this video. Real quick, I just want to talk about the Sun Eater series, right? And just give you my general overall opinion on the series and why it's one of my favorite ongoing series at this point in the sci-fi genre. See, I kind of messed up there, but not too much, so hopefully it's not too awkward for you. But not only in the sci-fi genre, but overall and in general for me, these are some of my favorite books of all time. And I have it right here, a whole stack of them in the main series. So there's 6 of them, right, in the main series right now. And there's also some novellas, there's some short stories too, that I also have on me as well. But there's just so many books, man, by Mr. Ruocchio. And I want to talk a little bit about each book really quick, just not go into spoilers, just talk about why I think you will really enjoy it, starting from the very beginning, right? And that's going to be Empire Silence, this purple cover right here, which just looks beautiful. It's a fantastic cover that really just draws the eye. It really draws the eye. You see, I messed up a tiny bit right there. I apologize for that. But this book, if you have not read any of the Sun Eater books just yet, I think the first comparison you'll be able to make to this book right here is Dune. That's because of the overall tone and also the setup of the family in terms of being almost like a leader on this really oil-rich planet where they have control over a natural resource with the Marlowe family, right? And this book, I had a really, really fun time reading through it. Actually, I loved it. And what's interesting is that a lot of people, it takes a little bit for them to get into it because it does do a little bit of like a meandering type of journey for our main character because he's going off on his own path, but there's no like actual plot that feels like it, at least in the beginning. So some people can be a little bit lost in terms of where's the story going. But I was fine with that. It's more of like a slow burn type of feel to it. And if you're a fan of like Colosseum type of books where you have gladiators fighting against each other, we have a lot of that in this book, which is kind of cool because we kind of have flashbacks of that throughout the rest of the series. But I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And overall, this is just a really good setup to the rest of the series. And each book, by the way, feels a little bit different in terms of the overall tone. Like they all feel like Sun Eater. They all feel like Christopher Ruocchio's amazing prose. It's just each book has its own tone to it, which is really cool to see by the author how he's able to do that and capture that in each book. But one thing you might also see online is that this book right here, it might be compared to Red Rising because a lot of people feel that Red Rising is one of the weakest books in the series. Well, people think the same thing about Empire Silence, where it only gets better from here. But let's just say if you're starting from a really good spot and you're only going up from here, I mean, you're in good hands with this series, absolutely. So, do I recommend it? Yes. Empire Silence is a fantastic read. I mean, it's not the biggest book in the world, but it's still pretty big. Close to 600 pages, but I had a blast. Just note that when you're going into it, it might feel a little bit slow in the beginning, but if you like slow burn type of feels, or slow burn type of books, this one might be up your alley. And it's also kind of like a blend of science fiction and fantasy. So if you're kind of hesitant on just going on a purely sci-fi tale, you don't have to worry about that. There's a lot of fantasy elements in this story as well. So that's book number 1, right? Empire of Silence. Book number 2 is actually my favorite book in the entire series, but that is not saying anything bad about the rest of the series either. This one just hit a special mark in my heart because it just gave me the goosebump feeling. When you have a certain book and you're reading through a scene or a few paragraphs or a few pages and you just get goosebumps in your arms and the hairs on your arms stand up as well. This book gave me that feeling. And again, this is Howling Dark, book number 2. Also has a really cool cover. And this character right here is one of my favorite characters of all time. And I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to talk about him that much. But we have a really cool, ambiance to this book right here in terms of the glowing high matter sword. You have this guy that looks like he's from a cyberpunk story with all the mechanics inside of him and all the metalwork going on there. And also, this book also kind of started out a little bit kind of like cyberpunk in terms of a certain race of people or a certain species of people in this series where they have, lots of, modifications done to their body. And I really liked it. It was a great feeling. This one, it starts off super quickly, super rapid pace, where he's just throwing you straight into the action. Then we get to some certain points where it's a little bit slower, but it's a huge build-up to a ultimate ending. That's one of my favorite endings in the Sun Eater books. But there's a few scenes in here that are just jaw-dropping, and I absolutely loved it. And I cannot recommend this book enough. I think this book is actually it's my number 2 book of sci-fi of all time. So that might not be saying a lot for you if you don't know my taste in books. But Howling Dark was fantastic, and I can't recommend this one enough. I had such a blast in it. And if you had a problem with the meandering type of feeling or the plot really not going anywhere in book number 1, that definitely changes in book number 2 because we have a mission and we're going down a lot of different paths that take us in very many places, dark places included, and very weird places of weird creatures. So, great book. Howling Dark, one of my favorites. All right, Demon in White. A lot of people will argue this is the best one in this series, which I can definitely see that as well because it has some of the most jaw-dropping moments I've seen in a book where it's just etched into my mind now. And this is also the biggest book out of the lot here so far. I forget how many pages this guy is, but close to 800 pages. So it's a pretty beefy book. But you're getting so many amazing scenes in this book as well that's going to be stuck in your mind. Especially the end scene. Oh my god. It was fantastic. But, I mean, if I didn't read Howling Dark first, this would definitely be my favorite, I think. But Howling Dark just takes a special place for me. But Demon in White was fantastic. This one I feel like would be a little bit more political driven. So we get to be into the politics a little bit. So if you like the politics feel of Game of Thrones, where you have these clashing forces that are using words to get what they want, you'll really like Demon in White because it blends that with crazy action as well. The next book, Kingdoms of Death, which also has a beautiful cover, is not that beautiful of a story. It's a very dark story. This one is very dark in terms of the overall tone because our main character does not go down a happy path, and it's definitely easily one of the darkest books out of the entire series so far. And what's interesting about this one is that these 2 books, book 4 and 5, were supposed to be a single book. But at the time when he was with DAW Publishers or DAW Books, they needed him to split it in half. So he did that, and out of a result of that, we got Kings of Death and Ashes of Man. And these books, they definitely feel like they should go together because the ending of Kingdoms of Death immediately follows into Ashes of Man, within a few hours of each other. So you can definitely tell that these 2 were connected, or they are connected. But this one, super dark, really focuses on the alien race, as you can see, because it's on the cover. Or Ashes of Man, I feel like focuses more on the humanity aspect of the Soul and Empire universe within Sun Eater. So this one, very dark. So hopefully you can get through that. It's a lot of inner reflection from our main character and a lot of thinking. And that might turn some people off, but if you enjoy the main character, he will definitely string you along for a great ride and a crazy ending of that one, which also leads into Ashes of Man, of course. And this one's a heartbreaker. For you guys who have read the series, you'll know why. It's a heartbreaker. But still, great story. And the latest book that just came out is Disquiet Gods. And you might be able to tell, this cover looks a little bit different. These ones, the first 5 books are all kind of like a matte finish to them. Disquiet Gods has that gloss finish to it. The reason is because Christopher Ruocchio moved to a different publisher, being Bane Books. And I don't know if Bane Books does matte, what do you call these? Dust jackets. I don't think they do matte dust jackets. There we go. So Disquiet Gods, I am not finished with this one just yet. I am pretty close. I'm towards the tail end. But this book, it definitely goes back to just a classic Sun Eater feel, where we have some really interesting action scenes in the beginning and a lot of inner reflection throughout the middle. And then we lead up to almost like a standard lanch, where we're leading up to a crazy climax of a story. This one has so many revelations and answers in the story, and which is really interesting because at the very beginning of book number 1, you are told the ending of the Sun Eater journey. But it's really the journey before destination in terms of all these books that you're going into. And you just have lots of answers that come out of this book right here. And also, one of my favorite characters in the entire series made their reemergence into the story. So I was really happy to see that they joined the story as well. And I mean, I still have a little bit more to go, but also a fantastic read that's probably going to be, a really high 4 point something out of 5 stars. I mean, all these are 4 stars and above, absolutely. And that is the main 6 books. We still have one more to come out. I'm not sure what the title is just yet, but there are also short stories and novellas that I have. I mean, I love this series so much that I have the paperbacks editions as well. And also, I bought this one on Audible. It's my very first Sun Eater listen, and I think his last name is Ruocchio. He is a fantastic narrator that really brings this story to life. So if you are an audio person, you won't be put off by this narrator at all because he does a fantastic job. So, did I talk enough about the Sun Eater series? Are you convinced yet that you should read the series? Or are you intimidated by the amount of pages here in this series? Because it is a lot of pages. I'm not going to lie. It's going to take you a little bit of time to get through this unless you are a super fast reader. In which case, I am not. So some of these taking me a little bit of time, especially the audio one. I mean, this one I've been reading over the past month. So let's be warned by that. There's a lot of pages here, but it's a lot of things that make it worth it. Again, so books. Not only do they cost you in the dollars you have to spend to buy the book, but they cost you in time. And we are on this planet for a limited amount of time. We're only going to read a limited amount of books. So whatever book that you choose, is it going to be worth your time? In my opinion, the Sun Eater series is absolutely worth your time. You're going to have a good time. And I think that's all I have today to talk about the Sun Eater series. If you have not read it just yet, I recommend it. And thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you have a good one. Keep reading. Peace.